And we are live with episode 174 of the Start, Build, Grow Show. Randy Brothers, my friend, what is going on? How we doing?
Living the dream here in sunny Colorado.
Yes,
It's
sir.
70 degrees today. It's been absolutely beautiful. So no complaints. Getting lots of work done. So I had a conversation earlier about the perception. This is a nationwide show, and people are like, "Oh, Colorado. It just snows and it's cold there all the time, right?"
Mm-mm.
No, we actually have lots of sunshine, and it's been a really sunny start to the fall. So
So, one thing I want to touch on that note about Colorado, Randy, you did something cool with I think it was your team actually, to Elite. You did, what was it, 9 runs of snowboarding, right? 9 holes of golf, and watch 9 innings of baseball on the same day.
yep, one of the
That's
only places in
Colorado.
the world that you can do that.
Yeah, so that's
I don't know.
pretty
I
cool.
think you could do that in Utah too.
I knew she was going to say that.
Professional baseball. So you could do. We've got a couple minor league teams.
Right on. Well, Utah, how do you like it out in Utah, Jen? This is Jen
Um,
Silver, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
You
you
guys
cut me off because I didn't get to do my
Oh,
intro.
Randy,
for-
I am
Oh,
so sorry.
Jen,
I thought we
Jen,
were.
this was his favorite
I
part.
thought we had moved. We were over Colorado, but let's go back to Colorado.
Well, I'll just skip it because Jen Silver needs no introduction. You've seen her all over the place in social media lately. She's been speaking. She's working twice as hard as most of us can even think about right now, and just absolutely crushing the game, growing an amazing roofing business, and serving the industry at a high level. And I absolutely love following you. I love what you're doing, and I'm very grateful to have you on the show. So
Well,
welcome
thank
in,
you.
Jen.
I appreciate that. And I had never really been to Denver before I went out there for John Dye's event and some various stuff that I had going on, and I loved it. So it reminded me a lot of Utah, a little more liberal, just a little, but but super similar in terrain and things to do. And I don't know that you could get me to leave Utah, to be honest with you.
Yeah, see, I had the same experience. Like I think 2 years ago, I hadn't really been to Utah. Oh, my absolute favorite place in the world is Moab, Utah.
Moab's
That's
unbelievable.
just my happy place. But we
I
had
have
a
never
chance.
been. Don't tell anybody. Other
You
than
gotta go.
I
Mountain
know there's
haven't
biking.
so
even
many
lived.
places in Utah I have yet to go, and Moab is one of them.
You haven't even lived yet until you go to
Put it
I
on the
Moab.
know.
list. Put it
We
on the
try to
list,
go there
Jen.
every year at this point. But yeah, we took our sales team to Snowbird.
Hmm.
No, we stayed in Park City, and we went to both places actually over like a 3-day
Hmm.
little incentive trip, and it was awesome. It was an epic trip. Went heli skiing. Actually, no, we didn't get to go. We got grounded twice in a row, so we went snowmobiling and snowboarding instead. But it was still pretty fun.
Which is
It
also
was
pretty
just
good.
such a cool area. It's just such a beautiful terrain. So, I'm in the same boat. I would never leave Colorado, but Utah is an amazing, amazing place. If anyone's
But I
thinking.
think it's because they're similar, right? Like I think we can appreciate the things about both states on the other side of the range is pretty much all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Utah's a little different, obviously, culture wise. It's, almost like you stepped back 20 or 30 years in a lot of ways. And there's some wonderful things about that. And then there's some challenging things about it. Like I love that my kids can run through my neighborhood and I'm not freaking out because I don't know where they are. You've
Yep.
got my neighbors call and say, "Hey, I just saw your kids, da da da, or they're here, or I just gave them popsicles or whatever." And there's not a lot of places that still offer that same type of community, public
Mm-hmm.
community, whereas Utah does. But there's also it's a very traditional place, and most women stay home, and there's really very few in the construction industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that has its own challenges at the same time, but it
So then,
benefits.
how did you get drawn into the roofing and construction space then?
Um, it was actually very strategic. So I became a single mom again in 2016, and I had been in the restaurant business, which if you've ever been in the restaurant business, it's a very dynamic business to learn how to manage. And I always recommend people, if you're looking for a really dynamic leader, look for somebody who's managed a restaurant for a period of time, because they can spin multiple plates. You're balancing a kitchen, a host staff with different, all with different personalities, which is very similar to any business. Balancing production, balancing sales, balancing office. So you're looking for a good manager. I always recommend a restaurant manager. But anyways, it's not very conducive to single mom life. The hours are kind of crazy and not consistent. My mom had always been in outside sales, and I thought that would make sense and it would give me some flexibility, but I wanted a good industry, and construction is stable and tends to do better when other industries fall apart. I didn't know anything about construction, was a kind of a minor problem. I knew I could learn. So I went to the country club in Ogden, met all the construction owners. That's actually where I met Steve Badger and his son as well, and ended up getting a job with SRS, and went from a sales manager to a general manager to a roofing company owner, all in 4 years. Well, the first two were in 2 years. Yeah. And then I've owned my company now for almost 2 years. So.
I feel like, what is this, 172 or something? A lot of episodes, right? We've had a lot of different guests and a lot of, we intermix between, owners of technology and software and all the different, industry vendors, and then a lot of roofing contractors. And it's so interesting to hear the stories and the similarities of roofing kind of finds us, right? It's like nobody really chooses roofing. It kind of chooses you. And once you find it, you get in, and those of us who have some outside experience, as well as, a little bit of a passion to kind of serve and help the industry, it becomes a lifestyle, not just a business,
No, you're absolutely right. And I love roofing. I don't always love being a business owner, and I loved it a lot more before my life got kind of crazy. And now, I'm juggling so many different things, and my passion has always been contribution and making a difference. And I feel that when I'm on the road, or when I'm, supporting other contractors, or, answering emails. And I get quite a few emails and phone calls and about my model and, how to handle this or what to do here. And I find myself easily distracted into doing what I really am passionate about, which then makes my roofing company kind of annoying. And I have to get really grounded and remember that the only reason that I have any opportunities to contribute is because of my roofing company, and become very grateful for that again, and, get refocused and re-energized. But I do love it.
That brings a pretty interesting topic. I want to kind of dive in a little bit, because there's a lot of people, a lot of roofing owners. I mean, we're entrepreneurs, a lot of roofing owners that try to get into multiple things. And I think that there's me included, right? I'm an entrepreneur. And the joke, it's kind of a joke, but when I talk about it with my staff or whatever, it's like, hey, I am not a manager. I'm not put on this earth to be a roofing company manager, right? I'm a visionary. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to, my purpose in life is to create opportunities for others, and to serve, lead, teach, and inspire people, to be the best version of themselves. And it makes a lot of sense to just, every so often, you just got to reel it in and understand that the core, you've got to make the main thing the main thing. We call it the mothership, right? Our roofing company. Yes, I have the roofing academy. We have other, marketing, a couple other different businesses that I do, and a lot of passion things I like to put my energy towards. But at the end of the day, you've always got to make sure to stay focused on the core, the thing that brought you and gave you the opportunities that you have. And I think people listening to this on the podcast or watching on the show that are, interested in doing some other things and wanting to do other things, I would encourage you, yes, let's be an entrepreneur. Don't hold yourself back, but timing is everything. And make sure that you're core main thing is really dialed in before you start trying to venture off and do other businesses. Because if you're just, average and marginal at a bunch of things, you'll never be a master of anything, right? So make sure you got your company dialed in, systems, processes, and an amazing leadership team in place. I can't give enough credit to my leadership team. I mean, we have a
And they
CEO,
are
my
awesome.
business
I can
partner, and
attest to
my
that.
leadership team is just an incredible people. So people see you, people see you on podcasts and see me on podcasts and speaking and doing all the things and the events and stuff that we're doing. But none of that would be possible without a great core and amazing team of leaders and team of people around you. And it's your job as an entrepreneur to build that first before you try to dabble in other things.
So I 100% agree with you. My life did not go that way. So I wasn't honestly even looking to pursue anything else other than my roofing company. If you would have talked to me in June, my 5-year plan consisted of one entity, possibly two for some of the GC work that I do for the military. But one entity, a commercial division, a residential division. I was debating on whether or not I was going to venture into commercial in 22, probably going to make sure that residential was completely buttoned up and all my systems and processes were perfect, and then start commercial in 23. And then I did Armando's podcast in July. And it was supposed to be on marketing. That was the focus. And, I think I've done a really great job with social media marketing and branding. And so it made sense for me to do that. And out of that, when they asked about my model and told me I was the one, everything has unfolded from that. Like I don't know that I know I never saw this coming, but my ducks were not in a row. My house was not ready to go. And it's been very challenging keeping all of the plates spinning and, making it all work and navigating through being gone and not having strong leaders in place yet. And so listen to Randy and do it Randy's way. Do not do Jen's way. Your life will be chaotic if you do Jen's way. But sometimes I think God has different things for us. And
sometimes you gotta grab bull by the horns. Sometimes it just happens.
Yep, it does. And I've been grateful. And I think I can tell when I'm following a path that's been laid for me that I'm supposed to follow, other than, or if I'm resisting something or going down a path that I'm not supposed to go down because challenges seem to come up and the people that I'm surrounded with are not like-minded, not like valued, where on this path, everything that's opened up has been easy. And I'm continuously, that's the word I wanted, continuously surrounded by like-minded, like-valued people who are up to doing the same thing and making a difference. And so this is just my time to really stretch and see exactly how much one person is capable of doing. And right now it is selling, producing podcasts, coaching, classes, mommying. Sometimes my house gets cleaned. Sometimes.
You seem pretty busy.
You can outsource that.
Occasionally I sleep. But yeah,
some days, every other day.
Well, usually it's like 3 to 4 hours a night right now.
Woo.
Yeah.
Man.
All right, we're gonna have to have a coaching session on balancing. I'll help you guide and figure some of that out.
Yeah,
it's not sustainable. Not sustainable. But you gotta take advantage of. One of the John Maxwell. I mean, a mentor of mine, and I follow him, read a lot of books, and gone through his program, and he talks about the law of the big mo. Right, when you have momentum, you got to go. Right, you got to be. You may not you can't necessarily predict it, but when momentum happens, you got to kind of go with it. But you also, you got to kind of learn as you go as well on how to maintain it, how to find that balance that you need. And balance doesn't really truly exist, but understanding when to pull different levers in life to make sure that you maintain your sanity, right?
The burnout can be real.
Oh, for sure. And there's tons of things that I would have much rather have been, gone to, or events that I would have rather do in October and did not. I stayed home and produced
Nice.
all month,
Yeah.
and focused solely on the roofing business. And we got a lot accomplished, and it feels really good.
Nice work.
But I'm muddy. You can't see my pants, but my pants are muddy.
You're getting
And
it done. You're getting it done.
Do
my
it.
white shirt is
Get it
clean
done.
up here, but down here I had to tuck it in. I'm all dirty from carrying ladders.
Hey,
And,
Jen,
it's just part of life.
Playmakers make plays. Playmakers make plays.
Yes.
Simple as that, right? So, I mean, we at this point, we might as well dive into the model, right? So tell us a little bit about how you're disrupting the sales process in roofing.
So it's interesting that you use the word disrupting, because I don't know that there is a true sales process in roofing the way it's written, or the way it is being done currently. I've heard a lot of, and I've read in different sales books, that a sale really doesn't start until somebody says no. And it's really hard for somebody to say no to, I'm going to do the roof for insurance proceeds, and all you have to pay is your deductible. Not that it doesn't happen, because it does happen, and I get that, but not like it does in true sales. And so I think disrupting the sales process may not be exactly what's going on, but more so disrupting the way that the insurance world is driven. Like, it's driven by contractors right now, right? And it needs to be driven by consumers. And so shifting the power back to consumers, and us staying focused on, is it broke? What's it going to take to fix it? And how much is it going to cost? That is where our true power lies. And when you can shift your mindset and get that, the sales process side is a whole different ballgame. And probably the hardest part, from what I've seen, is in rolling the model out, is having a sales team that believes that they can sell it. Because really, I just brought 2 guys over from Colorado. I stole them. No, I'm just kidding. They sought me out, but they both moved here.
That's where those guys went. What the heck, man?
Yeah, I took them all. Mainly because they wanted to understand the model, and they thought it's going to be so hard. This is, they're used to doing things the traditional way. And, when I went on a couple sales calls with them, and, guided the conversation and explained things to the homeowner, we left and they're like, okay, this is the exact conversation we have with adjusters. I go, yeah, it's just a shift in how you think about it, right? You're empowering a homeowner by educating them on why these things are needed on their roof, right? How many times do we fight with an adjuster on why we need starter? So instead of fighting over it, you're educating, and you're empowering the consumer to be able to, explain to the adjuster, if they need to, that starter is, required, and here's the specification. I mean, I'd like an adjuster to tell a homeowner no. It really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Not like
they're not going to tell the homeowner, like, hey, these are some corners that you can skip on your roof.
Right. Yeah, I get that we've been taking your money for the last, 20 years on your house, but, just reuse.
Yeah, but we're not going to give you any sort of flashing or replace that or give you starter or anything like that.
Right. It's all included in your waste. It's all included in waste.
So let's say that someone is interested in rolling out this model. What's the approach? I mean, how do they talk to their sales reps on how to present it and stuff like that?
Well, I think you need to have a clear plan. I think any owner that's going to do it probably needs to role model with someone else who has retail experience and understands what you're selling. I'm going to be doing some role modeling or role playing. I don't know why I said role modeling, role playing with a few business owners in the next couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
So that they can then take that and role play with their team. And once you get past that initial hurdle of how it actually looks, how that conversation feels when it takes place, I haven't had much resistance after that. But it's really important that they understand what it looks like, because that's when the gray area gets in. because they can't visualize it. They can't wrap their mind around how you explain this to a homeowner or why a homeowner would want to finance. And, the key is not necessarily switching to a retail model. The key is the homeowner pays for the roof before any negotiating happens. You understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it all ties into the contract that the homeowner has with the insurance carrier.
Correct.
And in that contract, in that agreement, in the event of an accidental direct physical loss caused by whatever one of the perils are within their insurance, and their signed insurance agreement, if they fix and replace their whatever's damaged with like in kind products to make it whole again,
And reasonable cost.
the insurance company has to indemnify them.
Yes.
Correct? Am I correct?
That's essentially what it says. I like to summarize it as, if coverage is extended, which means I check for the number of squares. That's all I look at, the number of squares. And then I know if coverage was extended or not. The cost is reasonable and it's been incurred, then their contract should kick into play, provided that they have an RCV coverage with code upgrade and they don't have any major exclusions, right? And that's why I don't get involved at all with the insurance process on explaining things to the homeowner. And I put them in touch with a public adjuster because they will start asking questions. This is a different, it's a whole new set of learning for them. And it's important that they learn what they've purchased and from whom and how that looks. Because right now we have a lot of uneducated consumers that have no idea what they're paying for. They're just paying for it because they have to. Right.
So what's your focal points when you're educating the homeowner on everything throughout the situation?
Only the roof. The only thing I educate on is what is going on their roof and why. Like, we don't talk about policy. I give them a number to a public adjuster and, a few questions that they can ask the public adjuster, what type of policy you have, if you have exclusions, ask about, if you have any statute of limitations, things along those lines that homeowners should know. But I don't ask them myself anything about their policy ever, or do I look? I don't want to be involved in that part.
What do you think of this, Randy? You're in a storm market.
So we've talked at length about this, and I'm intrigued about it. And I think there's definitely, going to be a shift whether we like it or not. I mean, the insurance, the model, the way the insurance carriers conduct and handle processing claims is going to be shifts, or every year things seem to be changing, pushing, pulling, different things happen. So I think that this is one of those things that, Jen's kind of, it's sad to say, because it's like, oh man, you're revolutionizing it, but really what you're doing is going back to how transactions should have been done and how it was designed in the first place.
Yeah. And I when people say revolutionizing, I have a hard time understanding that word, because I didn't. You're exactly right. I just went back
bringing it back to what it was designed early on. I mean, back in the day, before the roofers and all the craziness of storm chasing and knocking doors to generate, before the everybody who even remotely has a little bit of any hail on their roof got someone knocking on the door trying to sell them a roof. When it was, hey, look, something's wrong here and I need to get it fixed, you would call a contractor, pick a contractor, the insurance would write a check in full for the whole thing, and it was up to the insurance company to do that, or the homeowner to go ahead and pick the contract and get it done right. All the different, the battle between insurance and the contractors, specifically roofers, have completely changed the dynamic of how that process works. And I like it for a number of different reasons. Is it going to be a challenge mentally as well as the logistics of things? I've talked about this, like, concept is fantastic, but when you have different market variations, conditioning with tenured salespeople, conditioning with even clients. There's a lot of hurdles to kind of make those mental shifts, and I think it's going to be like a step by step, a small little bits and piece process. But I think that you're really solving a lot of challenges that many roofers are facing. And really, when it comes down to it, you've talked about this. The reasoning, kind of how this all came about, was I got to get paid, and I got to get paid right away.
Yes.
So it's like, let's go ahead and get paid right away on our jobs and finance them, get paid instantly. Everything, the cash flow. That's the biggest challenge roofers face, our industry faces. The number one reason for contractors to fail: cash flow challenges. It's not opportunity. It's not sales. It's not,
Right.
market demand. It's cash flow. Some of the biggest companies out there get themselves in trouble because they get so far extended out, getting into this back and forth battle with the insurance carriers, trying to get paid for what is owed. And the insurance doesn't want to pay, but that sort of thing. Eliminate that whole process, and you can build a really legit organization that's cash positive and that can grow and be sustainable. And I think it's cool. I really like the model. I think that more and more people, and that's the reason why you've been in such demand, is you've been testing this and continue. It's a work in progress.
Yes.
You've been testing it and working on it, and you're working on a few things that are really going to make it easier to make contractors transition into,
I agree,
this new hybrid retail insurance model, is if that's what you want to call it.
And in reality, like, I think for anybody that is struggling with the cash flow side of it, just incorporating financing to start, not even eliminating Xactimate, not even taking out the negotiating part, keep your model, but incorporate financing and get paid. Let the homeowners be responsible for getting the mortgage checks. Let the homeowners be responsible for, chasing the money. Keep your sales team around by getting them paid on time.
Yeah.
Because your homeowners are not going to be waiting 90 days for a check. Right. If they've already paid and they, submit that invoice to their insurance carrier is going to send a check out much more quickly than we will ever get one.
Yep.
So if all you do is incorporate financing to help with cash flow, start there.
Yep. I love
start
that.
there. And, explain to homeowners, look, you're going to have a better time. It keeps me out of the process by being paid by your insurance company. You now control the process. It's very simple. It's a 12-month, same as cash, or it rolls into a 5-year fixed. If you want to pocket that money, if you have credit cards you want to pay off, like, it's just a different conversation.
100%. Well, so, all right. So I'm going to take a quick break here, and we're going to thank our sponsors. And then after that, I noticed that you put in your Instagram bio, Millennial Whisperer, and the millennials in the workplace is also pretty interesting. So I do want to touch on that. We can kind of dive into that. All right. Randy's laughing because I'm a millennial.
I know. I knew that. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, this comes from the millennial.
Yeah,
because it's only millennials.
I want to see how to deal with us. All right.
Okay.
All right.
That's fair.
Our headline sponsor is Job Nimbus.
Job Nimbus is a fully customizable back office solution.
Track leads, jobs, tasks from one easy-to-use software.
And with the largest ecosystem of integrated partners, if we don't do it, we have a friend who does.
Learn how the #1 back office system in roofing
can help you be efficient, be organized, be professional, and be profitable.
All right. So if you guys are somehow not on Job Nimbus or haven't checked them out yet, go to info.jobnimbus.com/roofing-academy. And next up is our friends at Hail Trace.
If you're in the hail game, if you're working hail claims and selling roofs that have hail damage, you need to know where the hail is, how big the hail is, and when it hailed. I mean, if you're on the fence, it's a game changer.
All right, so check them out at hailtrace.com. And the last but not least, Jen, I saw that you just put up a post on Facebook about SumoQuote. What's your vibe on SumoQuote? What do you think of them?
I love SumoQuote. I actually love all three of these sponsors. Not that I love C3 Group too for different reasons, but I actually am partnering with Job Nimbus and SumoQuote to create a duplicatable model for
Nice.
contractors who are switching into more of a retail type of model and don't want to take the time to set up a CRM, because anybody that's ever done it knows that it takes a lot of time to set
Oh,
up
yeah.
a CRM.
Yep.
So, just all they'll have to really input is pricing. So that I am working on that, getting that all set up, and I love nothing more than working with those two CEOs. And then Derek is unbelievable at Hail Trace. I don't know if you guys know, he now has credit scores incorporated
Okay.
into the canvassing app. So when you
Ooh.
click on a house, it will populate with their credit score, which I asked him to do. And he's like, I think this is going to be hard. I'm like, please just try.
Yeah.
And he called me like 2 hours later. He's like, it's done. I was
It's
like,
done.
"That's
2 hours
amazing.
later, it's done. Look at that.
That's amazing.
That's customer service right there.
yes,
That's customer service.
yes.
Over delivering.
That's
So-
smart tech guys doing
Yeah.
smart tech guys do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. All right. So now, Jen, how do you deal with us? How do you deal with millennials? What's the key? What's the keys
What
in the
is
workplace?
the key to millennials?
Mhm.
Millennials are very misunderstood.
I
Okay?
agree.
And they're misunderstood because to us Gen Xers, and I'm not a baby boomer, I'm a Gen Xer, but to Gen Xers, they don't make sense. Millennials are not driven by money. Okay. Millennials, it doesn't mean they don't like money. It just isn't what drives them. They're driven more by contributing to a cause that's bigger than themselves, being a part of a team, and feeling valued. So
Purpose.
yes, they need purpose. Millennials get a lot of flack for being on their phones or, not knowing what to do. But, when you take on a team of millennials, you really have to kind of think of it as you're a parent. Millennials were not parented. I think what happened was, in my opinion, and I'm, not the authority, but what I think happened is baby boomers worked their butts off, right? Because they did not want to live the same lifestyle that their, the Great Depression era. I don't know what that generation is called, but that's what their parents were. And so they saw them struggle and not be able to make ends meet and live off of rice and all of those things. So baby boomers worked really, really hard. And when they got home, they didn't want to work. And so they didn't necessarily educate the millennials on what work life was actually like. Instead, what they did is they said things like, make sure that you always balance everything. Money isn't everything.
Yep.
Quality of life matters. Spend time with your family, because they needed that reassurance for themselves that they were doing the right things when parenting, which I completely understand. But what that created was a generation that had no idea how to go to work. Like we didn't teach them that. We failed them as an older generation in teaching them those things.
To the millennials, you're saying?
What?
To the millennials, you're saying?
Yes. When I took my team on their first business trip, I had a detailed packing list because I knew that none of them had ever been on a business trip. Right. And nobody had ever taught them what types of things to take. And if I didn't send them with that, I'd probably end up with a bunch of, your mom is hot t-shirts or, something along those lines, because it doesn't even occur all the time. You're out at the pool. And so having those conversations as a manager and as a leader and teaching them, millennials want to learn, but most people, my generation and older, don't feel like it's their job to teach them at work how to be in the work world or in the workforce. So I disagree.
So yeah, I think what's interesting about millennials though, so I've never had an issue with work ethic. So sometimes I struggle a little bit with what people say about millennials, but at the same time, I think what we have the generation before us that was really good at working hard, right? But some of them didn't really enjoy their jobs, right? So we're like, all right, well, we want to enjoy our careers. But then we also have the generation that's in front of us that's got all this technologies, like doing all this weird stuff, you know what I mean? So we get kind of like both ends, which I think makes us kind of dangerous.
I can totally see that.
Because technology, like, understanding technologies is such a big advantage now. I feel like nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. We had internet. I can remember America Online when I was like 13 or 14 was when we first started to, maybe 12, middle school time frame, started to get internet. And there was not much advanced by the time we went to high school. I went to high school. But as I was working my way up in the restaurant industry, which is not a technology necessary other than a POS system, there's really not much technology in the restaurants industry. The whole world around me was evolving. And so I am very technologically illiterate. And it makes my life hard.
It does, for sure.
So I think I naturally surround myself with millennials because they're good at the things that I'm not. And so I'm willing to do the parenting, so to speak, and take them out to buy suits. And I've done that. Or, you know, do packing lists, or, you know, tell them, hey, if you're somebody that's going to be late, you need to plan, you know, let's set your calendar 15 minutes early for every single thing all the time. And, you know, do those things that it takes, because it really takes about a year. And then they can mentor other millennials and teach them the same thing. And that's what millennials want, is they're pod babies. They sat in pods at school.
Collaboration.
Huh?
Collaboration.
Yeah, that's what
the
drives,
thing, right?
Yeah. I didn't sit in a group. I hated group work. Like, I felt like group work held me back.
But the thing is like, it's almost so obvious. Like, why wouldn't you collaborate? Because the thing is, if you have a bunch of people in the same mission, right, it just makes it that much easier. So it's also another positive of the millennials. You know, I know we got some flaws, but you know, that it goes a long way if you're able to collaborate with others.
No, I 100% agree with you that it makes more sense. But for the rest of us older than you, it wasn't what we did.
Oh. Well, I didn't start working and kind of doing group type things until college, you know, and that's it was like, hey, get in groups and business. And that's kind of where I kind of probably got a foundation of that. And it was like, you know, I'm kind of a hybrid between some rule of thought is that I'm a millennial, and the other rule is that I'm a Gen X, like kind of right in between the two. And I can see its tendencies of both. But, you know, as I was, you know, I got into entrepreneurship really pretty early in life and running. I've been owning my own business for nearly 20 years now, and I'm not quite 40. So I've been early on an entrepreneur, and that's one of the things I brought in early on, just as like, this is how business gets done, is collaboration. You know, my grandparents, my dad, my grandparents, and, you know, I'm from a generations of entrepreneurs and business owners, and it wasn't about collaboration back then. It was about like, work your butt off. And
that's what it was.
Crazy customer service, and that reputation will manifest itself, and you'll everybody built their business purely off of work ethic and referrals. So I take a hybrid of, okay, crazy work ethic, do it right or don't do it at all, mix in collaboration. And one of the first things I did early on was, who's the best roofer? Who are the best roofers in town? I reached out to them. Hey, you want to go have coffee? I wanted to learn from those. And that was right around the time we started seeing a little bit of a paradigm shift, where nowadays we're doing a podcast 3 years into it. I'm talking to a fellow roofer who could be a competitor, and we're sharing and helping each other. And that's what has evolved in business. And I think, so to back up the collaboration piece, I think that is the way to do business, is even with your competitors, collaborate. Like, all ships are going to rise as long as you have the right character and the right value set, and you surround yourself with people that match character and values. You know, you can really make major strides, and not only just grow your own business for yourself, but help an industry grow.
I agree. I 100% agree. And I think we owe that to the millennials, because I think that
we'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We'll take it, Jen.
I would like to personally thank you for all the millennial contributions that has gone on. To make society better.
This is my purpose. This is my purpose, Jen.
He's being very intentional right now, because the other issue, they need recognition.
Oh my God. No, hey, Hey, I'm
They
not
wanted
doing
me
it for
recognized.
me.
It's
I'm not
okay.
doing it for me.
As he's
I'm
going,
doing
yeah,
it.
give it to me. Yeah,
I'm doing it.
I
I'm
can
doing
take
it for the millennials out there. I'm doing it for the millennials out there, for the group,
Yeah.
for the greater good of millennials that are called lazy on the regular.
You know, that is the one thing. Millennials are not lazy. They just need clear direction. And when you find a millennial that's on their phone, it's because they're disconnected from the group. So what I have found is if I put them together in offices, they'll sit there together and work quietly and not be on their phones just because they're with somebody else. But if you sit them in an office, and I've done a lot of experiments that people didn't know that I was doing just to kind of see how things would go. But if you sit them in an office by themselves, they finish a task and get on their phone because they're disconnected.
I bet. I could believe that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. All right, guys. Well, as we bring this thing to a close, Jen, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun. We always end it with a golden nugget, though. So I make Randy go first. So something to do, something to avoid, something to implement, quote. It doesn't really matter. Something to end it out. So Randy Brothers, my friend, what we got?
So I actually prepared today.
Oh, for the first time. So this is the first time in 174 episodes.
No,
so
sometimes I prepared a couple times.
have you?
But no, I'm trying to be very intentional about spending my commitment to myself is an hour a day, purely just learning, whether I'm physically reading a book, listening to a podcast, I just and really focusing around leadership. But today, one of the things that I just read this morning, and it's just really solidified, and it applies to this topic from today as well, because change and risk are a part of growing as a person and growing as a business. So Dr. David Viscott wrote, he's the author of a book called Risking, wrote, if you cannot risk, you cannot grow. If you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. If you cannot become your best, you cannot be happy. If you cannot be happy, what else matters?
I love that.
I do too.
Well said, Randy. Well said. All right, Jen, what do you got to close this out?
Well, I am going to piggyback on that, because what is it that causes us not to take risks?
Fear.
And I'm going to go with it, self-limiting beliefs. So the number one piece of advice that I give people when they ask me what to do about self-limiting beliefs is I tell them to name the negative voice in their head. Separate it from yourself. So mine's name is Karen. And not that I know that sounds so.
Yeah, where'd you get? I didn't see that coming.
But I have an aunt named Karen. I actually really like the name Karen. I think it's a really pretty name.
Yeah.
But what it signifies, or what society has decided that a Karen is kind of like that negative voice in my head, right? You're not good enough. You can't do this. You're not worthy.
Agreed.
Whatever all those conversations are. So now I can just say, shut up, Karen. And I can keep moving, and that voice is not me. So delineating between your negative self-beliefs and yourself and naming it. And I know it sounds crazy, but I've had a few people that have told me that they've named it, and they're like, it's like night and day. I go, yeah, because you're taking it away from the ownership of it being you. And you can actually start to dismiss it. So that is my
get out of here, Karen. Get out of here, Karen.
Karen, not
Karen,
today.
get
Karen.
the hell out of here.
Not
you're
today.
gone. You're gone, Karen.
It was Felicia for a minute, so I could say bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. That's also a good one.
That was a good one. But there were other things that I couldn't say bye to, and it just didn't work. I didn't like Felicia, so I switched to Karen.
Oh man. Well, Jen, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun to have you on episode 174.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for joining, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast. And I want to make sure to, if you like what you hear, you've seen it. Maybe this is the first time tuning in, and you've seen a few of our shows. Make sure to click the subscribe button. Share this out with friends, family, with your industry personnel, and subscribe to the podcast on all the platforms. And you can always catch us live every Tuesday at 4:00 Mountain Time right here on Facebook. And for those of you do a quick little shout out for those who've been following along for a long time. As you know, the show is all about growing and helping entrepreneurs and helping roofing owners grow and serve their businesses. And the Roofing Academy and the Start Build Grow Show, we've teamed up together, and we have a conference that's coming up. I don't even want to call it a conference. It's a mastermind. It's a workshop style event where owners and leaders of companies are coming together. We only have room for 50 companies, averaging about 2 to 3 people per company, and we're coming together to mastermind and to spend 3 days really building our business and building out a strategic plan. I'm bringing in some of the best, most well-known, successful industry professionals to teach and share what they know, and we're going under the hood of our own business that has been around for over 11 years, and we've done upwards of $20 million in business, and we're going to share with you the secrets and the tips and tricks and really show you step by step in a simplistic format how to really build out that amazing business that we're all trying to build in 2022. So join us at the Growth Mastermind. If you want more information, there'll be a link in the comments, and you can always reach out to myself or Nick, and we can get you set up with an invitation to join us in Denver in January at the Ritz-Carlton. We're really excited, and we hope to get a few of you to join us in that.
See you guys there.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks.